Alright, we're back on the floor. So today I wanted to originally react to Angie Martinez's interview with Lauren London discussing how she's been healing after having to grieve the love of her life, Nipsey Hussle. But I was a little bit scared to approach the video in the original way that I wanted to do it, which was to have the interview run and then me doing commentary. But I ended up with a copyright claim with my last video. I didn't know that the algorithm was that sensitive because I muted the music, so I thought it would be okay, but the footage from the film The Crow, yeah, I got a copyright claim, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. The channel's already not monetized currently, so to me it makes no difference, but in the interest of preserving my content from being inconvenienced by anything, I decided that I'm just going to echo what Lauren London mentioned as far as like heartbreak and grief brain, and I'll link the interview that she did with Angie Martinez in the comment box, description box below. And I super recommend that for any widows or baby mamas, for lack of a better term. If a romantic partner was taken from you too soon, I do recommend that you watch the interview with Angie Martinez and Lauren London, just because they had a very real, raw, genuine, and kind discussion considering what they were discussing, and it was just beautiful. It was a beautiful conversation, so I do recommend that for anybody as they find it relevant. But today I wanted to discuss how heartbroken syndrome can actually result from going through grief. A lot of unexpected emotions and reactions can arise in someone who is grieving a loved one. So with that said, I just wanted to touch on how grief sits right on the heart. How do you counteract the pain that sits in your chest resulting from the trauma that follows grief? Is you gotta find the relaxation response. And a relaxation response is only critical and crucial and important to anybody going through the pain of grief. Pardon me while I turn to my notes because I wanted to speak in a precise way and only deliver what's important. So I'm gonna be picking up my notes while I make this video. Relaxation response is the body's opposite of fight, flight, or freeze that steps in with trauma. Yoga, meditation, and walking are some examples that are credited with the ability of reversing the harmful effects of stress. And essentially what I'm trying to give away with that is find a way to decrease your heart rate to slow down the effects of trauma and stress on your heart and in your mind, specifically related to grief. Does it matter so much for you to slow down your heart rate whenever you're feeling either stress, making your heart palpitate a bit faster than it should, or maybe you're experiencing an anxiety, not attack, but you're feeling anxiousness? Consider that 80 to 90% of patients are admitted to hospitals because of changes in their breathing. If you can imagine like an internal snapshot of your upper respiratory system, consider that your lungs are enclosing your heart. So when they are responding to stress, or as the lungs respond to stress, the heart is in there also being impaired by heartbreak, which can lead the heart to actually experience pain during grief. Pain of the heart while being heartbroken is actually something that has been scientifically proven. And to prove this, I linked an article for the Mayo Clinic describing Heartbroken Syndrome, along with another article from an Australian hospital describing further the issue of Heartbroken Syndrome and how that can impair health. Grief is so physical, destabilizing, and emotional. It's essentially ushering you to take a path you would have never chosen, but that you're on nonetheless, showing you the world as you don't know it. It can greatly challenge your perception of terms like predictability, what's controllable, what is meaningful, and even what's fair, along with what is justice. So at this point, I'll just generally suggest that you don't be hard on yourself. So if you're a person who tends to be hard on yourself, you're gonna wanna take it out on yourself because you're realizing that you're not feeling your usual self. But I would suggest that you please check that, because if you're particularly hard on yourself, you're gonna wanna attack yourself from the inside, and that you just don't need to be another contributing factor against your heart and your lungs and your brain during a time where you're having to adjust to life, confronting the greatest pain on earth, which is to lose someone. I also wanted to contribute to the conversation. If I could have spoken to Lauren and Angie in the interview that they had, I would have added that grief is a process, it's a skill, and it's a reaction to losing an important someone. Wanted to expand a bit on the Mayo Clinic's article on broken heart syndrome. Disclaimer, the article denotes broken heart syndrome is more common in women than men. Please take this with a grain of salt, as it simply may be that men report it less than women do. Let's not act as if society doesn't condition men to stifle feelings, symptoms, or anything that makes them human. With that out of the way, broken heart syndrome can occur after suffering extreme and stressful situations or serious illness or surgery. It's a relatively short-term ailment, and people affected by broken heart syndrome may be experiencing sudden chest pain or feel as if they're having a heart attack because broken heart syndrome affects a part of the heart, disrupting the heart's usual pumping function. The rest of the organ may be working just fine, or it may be feeling like it's contracting more harshly than usual. Notice how there are physiological symptoms that are listed in the article, as well as events that are beyond anyone's control, such as sudden loss or arguments that may trigger broken heart syndrome. A big difference between heart attack and broken heart syndrome is the arteries. If you don't have blocked arteries, you may not be experiencing a heart attack, but the lower blood flow in the arteries may be what's causing the impairment or discomfort or even pain to the heart. Again, the link to the Mayo Clinic's article is on the description box below. Also rely on your own self-assessment to know when to best speak to a doctor. And if you happen to have chronic stress, you may be at increased risk for broken heart syndrome. So it's all about the emotional stress management. That'll definitely keep you at bay from any other discomforts that come with complicated grief. Lauren London mentioned grief brain, so let's take a look at how grief impairs the memory and the brain in general. I love how this article mentions that the brain interprets grief as emotional trauma or PTSD. Per neurologist Dr. Lisa Schulman, the brain uses the same processes to handle emotional trauma and stress. So whether it's stressed or traumatized, the brain perceives of these situations as threats, and it's going to maximize survival instincts. In the context of grief, the fight, flight, and freeze responses are triggered, increasing blood pressure, the heart rate, and certain hormones are released. Grief, for lack of a better term, taxes the memory, behavior, sleep, and body function, which affects the immune system. And the stars of this video, the heart and cognitive effects, appear as brain fog. To quote Dr. Schulman, grief is a normal and protective process. Case in point, grief brain that Lauren London echoed in her interview with Angie Martinez. So big ups to Lauren London and Angie Martinez. They did an amazing job discussing this all-consuming experience, and there's a playlist on this channel describing what you can expect when you are grieving. I hope it serves you. I hope you like this video, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. Good looking out.